I'm Tony Jenkins. I'm a professional backcountry snowmobiler for Ski-Doo and Fox. Obviously, I spend a ton of time in the winter months and I'm away from the family and I'm always working. What better option is to get a Jeep for the family, and we're going to take them out and spend some more time together in the backcountry and show them what the mountains are all about. So we have a 2019 Jeep JL Rubicon, and it works really well actually, but why not improve it? And that's what we're here to do today. So this morning we wanted to get a baseline in a pretty general area, just a slight bit of off-roading. Just wanted to get a feel of what the stock shocks are doing, and now we're going to go home and put the new Fox 2.0s on. So before we get started with installing the new shocks, we want to get a measurement with the stock shocks that are on there. And what we want to do is jack the Jeep up and then get the measurement of the droop as a stock setup. We should be able to get more suspension travel with the new shocks because they're a little bit longer. So we're at 21 and a half. Okay, 22 and a half. So I'm pretty spoiled. Everything I own has Fox shocks except Summer's Jeep. Why not go to a Performance Series 2.0 from Fox? So the difference between the stock shock that comes on the Jeep Rubicon versus the new Fox 2.0s. Obviously this is a steel body, which with steel you get a lot of the corrosion. With the 2.0 Performance Series you have an aluminum anodized shock body, so this also will help keep it cool, and the shock is completely rebuildable. So basically you're buying a set of shocks that will last your Jeep a lifetime. Even if you have to do maintenance, you send these off and they can be rebuilt. So not only are we replacing all 4 shocks, but we're going to replace the stock stabilizer with the Fox 2.0. Obviously the Rubicon does come with a stabilizer, but like this shock, it is a steel body shock. It's not aluminum. It doesn't have the anodizing. And it's a slight possibility when you do add a little bit of a suspension lift or bigger wheels and tires, you're going to get that death wobble in the front end. And so we just want to make sure that this kit is complete, and we want to make sure that it is sound and performing perfect. So basically there's 3 different seals in the bottom of the shock where...
Hey, what are you doing to my Jeep?
So we're upgrading the shocks in it.
Okay, well, shouldn't we take this in and to like a shop, have a professional do it?
No, I think I'm perfectly capable of putting 5 shocks on a Jeep.
Yeah, you were perfectly capable of fixing the refrigerator too, so...
Yeah, but we don't talk about that one.
Be careful with my baby, okay?
It's looking good, see? Refrigerator. Let's get these shocks installed. Well, the front went really well. Super easy install. 2 bolts, pull the wheel off. You know, we had to stage it a little bit to show you guys, but I don't think it would take a guy more than 15 minutes. Rear shock looks pretty easy. Don't even have to remove the wheel. Jeep makes these pretty fun to work on actually. It's kind of like working on a dirt bike or UTV or snowmobile. It's just kind of a toy. Just removing the plastic guard so we can get in here to the shock bolt and remove it.
Should we start a GoFundMe for an impact?
Yeah, we need an impact wrench. Anybody want to send me one? Installation went pretty good, pretty straightforward. Put 4 new shocks on the new Jeep. And then we put the steering stabilizer on there as well. That was probably the trickiest one out of everything else, but now we're gonna measure the droop. So basically we're taking the floor jack and we're lifting it from the frame of the vehicle, and we're just lifting it high enough off the ground so that the wheel is just barely touching the ground. That way you can get an accurate measurement, and we're measuring from a consistent location. We went from 21.5 to 22.5, so it gave us a whole inch of further droop, that's awesome. So another thing we did was disconnected the sway bar, and on these new Rubicons on the JLs, you can electronically hit the button to disconnect them. And we went from 22.5 to 24.5, so we added a whole nother 2 inches on top of that with the sway bar disconnected. And then we went to the rear with the stock shocks with the droop measurement. We got 22.5, and with this new shock that we just put on, we got 23.25. So we made it another 1.25 inches of longer, I guess, droop. That's pretty impressive. So gives you that much more to get some traction. As you can see in this animated video, the Fox Advantage eliminates bucking and keeps the wheels connected to the ground, giving the driver control while maintaining a level chassis. Well, I'd say it makes quite a bit of difference. The quality of the shock is night and day from the stock Rubicon shock, and it's all for a price of $850, give or take, retail, and you can't go wrong with that. Considering the changes that it's made, if you're just a weekend guy that's wanting to get out with your family, this is the perfect setup.
Today, we're going to learn how live valve on the new Ford Raptor allows you to drive at your highest potential. The semi-active live valve system is race-proven and takes your new Ford Raptor to the next level. While you're driving, it constantly gathers information from driver inputs and vehicle sensors. It interprets that data and then intelligently adjusts the shock's damping in a fraction of a second. Even more impressive is how the Raptor's new off-road mode and algorithm uses that data to predict both your driving style and what the terrain will do next. Because everyone has their own driving style, Live Valve monitors how you like to drive in order to predict what you'll do next. It does this by creating a model based on your speed, the way you steer, and how you use the accelerator pedal. If Live Valve notices you're using less throttle and you're slowing down, it'll predict you're going to drive less aggressively and decrease damping in all four shocks to provide more comfort. If it notices you're using more throttle and you're speeding up, it'll predict you're going to drive more aggressively and increase damping in all four shocks to provide more support. While you're driving, Live Valve monitors the position of each shock as it moves through the travel multiple times per second. It then combines that data with your driving style to create a predictive model that determines if the terrain ahead is getting smoother or rougher. For example, if Live Valve notices you're using less suspension travel, it will predict that the terrain is getting smoother and decrease damping in all four shocks to provide more comfort. If Live Valve notices you're using more suspension travel, it'll predict that the terrain is getting rougher and increase damping in all four shocks to provide more support. So whether you're just going for a drive or pushing the limits, the Live Valve system intelligently provides the best possible settings. Thanks for taking the time to join us today to learn how Live Valve on the new Ford Raptor allows you to drive at your highest potential. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, you can click subscribe, follow us on social media, or join us on the web at foxacademy.ridefox.com. What's the difference between standard shocks and aftermarket Fox shocks? Today, we'll dive into some key distinctions using our Jeep product line. Standard shocks are designed around use on the road. They're not designed around the extra force and heat created when driving off-road. Their steel bodies insulate heat inside the shock. Fox typically uses aluminum. This dissipates heat over 4 times more efficiently than steel. As we look inside the shock, we'll notice that standard shocks do not have a physical barrier between the shock oil and the pressurized gas. Without a physical barrier, the pressurized gas mixes with the oil and turns into a foam. This causes the standard shock to be much less effective at controlling the movements of the vehicle during compression and rebound while driving off-road. Fox Jeep shocks use an IFP to separate the oil from the nitrogen. Steel will rust and needs to be painted. Another great benefit of an aluminum shock is that it won't rust and will consistently look as good as the day you bought it. When considering upgrading your Jeep suspension to Fox, there are 3 categories of shocks to consider: Performance, Performance Elite, and Factory. If you feel an itch for adventure to prove your mettle and your Jeep's off-road worthiness, Performance Series shocks are for you. Performance Series shocks utilize an aluminum body and an IFP to give you comfort on the road when you're driving the kids to practice, and on mild trails when you're finding the campsite. Having some extra travel for your adventures doesn't hurt either. Performance Series shocks last longer than standard shocks because they are designed to be rebuilt. Plus, you can change the tune inside these shocks to optimize performance as your needs and Jeep evolves. Now, if you built your Jeep for multi-day adventures with a lift, oversized wheels, and gear to get to the mountain and back, you'll want our Performance Elite Series shocks. These Performance Elite shocks are significantly more versatile than our Performance Series 2.0 shocks. They're built with adjusters that provide a very wide range of adjustability. So you can get comfort on the road as you drive to work, but have the ability to dial in an optimal damping setting as you drive with various amounts of gear over rough terrain. The larger bodies on Performance Elite shocks have increased oil volume and piston diameter that give you more control over your oversized wheels and more damping force to handle rougher terrain as you drive faster off-road. Faster, you say? Sounds like you have transformed your Jeep into the ultimate expression of off-road domination, and you're looking for Factory Race Series shocks. When you get to wide open desert, you don't slow down in silty corners or over whoops. You hit the gas. You expect your Jeep to function at peak performance in all situations. This means more force upon your vehicle, more heat for the shock to dissipate into the atmosphere, and a variety of damping forces needed at all times. The Factory Race Series shocks utilize DSC adjusters so you can dial in the right setting. But these shocks are even more versatile than our Performance Elite shocks. They give you firmer, more supportive damping tunes to absorb the increased forces on your vehicle. Recirculating reservoirs dissipate heat into the atmosphere faster than Performance Elite shocks. And race-inspired internal bypass position-sensitive technology that changes the damping force applied based on where the shock is in its travel. With the Factory Race Series shocks, you possess the highest form of control and comfort possible over your Jeep at any speed, whether you're on or off-road. Thanks for joining us to learn more about how Fox shocks utilize more efficient heat dissipation, a wide adjustment range, and position-sensitive technology to significantly increase comfort and control on and off-road for you and your Jeep. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, you can click subscribe, follow us on social media, or join us on the web at foxacademy.ridefox.com.